You think you know someone until the very moment they betray you. Trust is the most fragile thing in the world. It takes years to build, moments to break, and sometimes a lifetime to repair. But what happens when the one person you trusted the most, the one person you never doubted, becomes the very reason your heart shatters into pieces? This is my story, the story of how she betrayed me in ways I never imagined, and how my revenge left her completely speechless. But before you judge me, before you ask why I went so far, let me take you back to where it all began, because betrayal never comes out of nowhere. It starts small, subtle, hidden in smiles, in words, in promises. Promises that sound so beautiful but end up being lies, and her promise was the one that destroyed everything. From the outside we looked unbreakable. People would look at us and say that's what trust looks like. That's what loyalty means. Where are you? But what they didn't know was that a storm was already forming behind the scenes. Because sometimes the people closest to you aren't your protectors. Sometimes they are the ones holding the knife. In the beginning, everything felt perfect. She smiled in ways that made me believe I had finally found someone who saw me, who understood me, who would never let me fall. We built dreams together, spoke about the future as if it was already written, and for a long time I believed it. I believed every word, every promise, every gentle laugh that made the world feel safer than it ever had before. I gave her my trust without hesitation, and she took it with hands that seemed steady, but steady hands can still tremble in secret. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months, and with every moment my trust grew deeper. I thought nothing could shake it, nothing could touch us, but cracks have a way of hiding themselves until it is too late. It began small, a late reply here, a strange silence there, excuses that didn't quite match the stories she told. I brushed them aside at first, told myself I was overthinking, told myself love meant giving the benefit of the doubt. But doubt is like a shadow. Once it appears, it never fully disappears. And soon I noticed more, whispers she didn't explain, glances she avoided. Laughter that didn't sound like the laughter I knew. Where are you? The perfect picture we had painted together began to blur at the edges. I felt it, but I didn't want to believe it. Because believing it meant admitting the truth. And the truth was too painful to face, until one day it couldn't be hidden anymore. The lies surfaced, the secrets spilled into the open, and I stood there staring at the proof that shattered everything I had believed in. It was not just betrayal. It was the tearing apart of my very foundation. My chest ached with a silence so heavy I could hardly breathe. My mind replayed every smile, every promise, every night of whispered trust, and twisted them into knives. I felt the coldness of betrayal sink into my veins, freezing me where I stood. She had chosen deception over loyalty, selfishness over honesty, and in that moment the world tilted, and everything we had was gone. The pain burned, but beneath the pain something else was born, something sharper, clearer, stronger. I realized I could not let it end this way. I could not be left as the broken one. No, I would not shout. I would not destroy recklessly. My revenge would not be wild. It would be calm, measured, undeniable. I would let the truth speak louder than her lies ever could. I began to plan, quietly, every detail considered, every step precise. It was not about cruelty. It was about justice. I gathered the messages, the timelines, the small details she thought I had overlooked. I placed them together like pieces of a puzzle that revealed exactly who she was. When the mask fell, I waited, I stayed silent, and silence became my power. When the night came, when the room was full of people who once admired us, I stood tall, my voice calm, my words deliberate. I tapped my glass and the room hushed. When I told them the story she never wanted told, I laid out the facts, the proof, the undeniable truth. I did not raise my voice. I did not beg them to believe me. I simply showed them what was real, and with each word her mask cracked. With each piece of evidence her defense collapsed. She tried to interrupt. She tried to spin the story, but truth does not bend for excuses. One by one the eyes in the room shifted. The trust she once held slipped through her fingers, and she stood there exposed, her silence heavier than any denial she could muster. When it was over she looked at me with fury, and fear tangled in her eyes. And for the first time she said the words I never thought I'd hear, "I'm sorry." But her apology was hollow, too small for the wreckage she left behind. I looked at her and I said only one thing, "It ends now," and with that I walked away. I didn't need to stay and watch her world collapse. I didn't need to gloat. The truth had already done what I came to do. In the days that followed she tried to hide, she tried to rebuild, but silence followed her wherever she went. People remembered her differently. They no longer gave her the benefit of the doubt. Her words no longer carried weight. And me, I began to heal, not instantly, not without scars, but slowly, steadily. I realized revenge wasn't fire, it wasn't destruction, it was calm. It was the heavy peace that comes when lies are finally dragged into the light. Betrayal broke me, but it also built me. It made me see the strength I had inside. It made me understand that self-respect matters more than blind trust, that promises mean nothing without action, and that truth, no matter how painful, is always stronger than deception. So if you take anything from my story, let it be this. Respect yourself enough to walk away from lies. Do not trust blindly, but pay attention to actions. And never underestimate the quiet power of truth. Because in the end, revenge is not always about tearing someone else down. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply standing tall in your own truth while they are left to face the emptiness of their lies. Storms do not last forever, but the lessons they leave behind will guide you for a lifetime.